Age of Fission radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark, where we learn to accept living in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.tv, we relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We share information about the facts of radiation and the nuclear industry. We discuss vital current events and explore the roots of social engineering that has caused so many of our beloved friends and family to intentionally ignore the most critical, catastrophic event in human history. We interview activists who do the hard work to discover the truth and get the word out. We dispose the NRC's daily nuclear alerts and take phone calls from our listeners in an effort to fully engage on all topics that are changing our world. We explore exactly how radiation affects our bodies and minds to dissipate your fears and face the truth. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. We share information on how to take your life back from the systems intent on enslaving our bodies, minds, and souls. The Age of Fission radio show will create a venue that all will choose in order to actively engage to save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Good morning, UCY radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Today, in a little while, I'm going to introduce a guest of ours who, in my view, reflects exactly the effects and the desired results of the oligarchs. And, you know, in the next month, I think I've told you I'm going to be redoing that bumper, right, the intro, because it was thrown together real quickly and it's way too long, wordy, but I think I ought to include that, the ravages of greed, indifference, and sociopaths, because that's what we're dealing with, is a ruling class of sociopaths who is quite evidently are intent on ecocide and have no regard for human life. The way I'm beginning to look at it after watching the people flee in Europe and see what's going on, the explosions in China, the threats here at home, you know, people just getting murdered down in the streets by the police, regardless of color, although black people are abundantly more abused. But color's beginning not to even matter. And so one of the things I wanted to do is have a discussion with a friend of mine named Carol, who has this is how I met her actually on the YouTubes, and I was fascinated. She is chronicling the destruction of her life, frankly, on YouTube. I mean, the oligarchs have slammed the hammer down on her, and why? When I first met her, no wonder. She is on YouTube. I actually have not seen her, maybe once I did see her face. She sent me her picture, but she posts things that help disabled people. She's been doing it for a long time. I'll let her tell her a little bit more about herself and her history. And, you know, during the economic collapse, her house was sold and sold and sold. And one day her house, which was released in a bankruptcy long ago, was sold and sold and sold. And then the bank said, if you don't come up with X amount of money, you're out. And she has been fighting them for a long time. And I'll let her tell her story, but it is heartbreaking. And she's agreed to be on this show bravely. If I were in her position, I would not want to be on the radio, and I would not be doing what she did. So, Carol, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Lonnie.
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Pretty good. Is everything I said pretty much accurate? Did I sum it up pretty good?
Yes, you did, except for the sold and sold and sold.
Okay, well, maybe you can explain that, because, well,
yeah.
give people your YouTube channel and tell them about that a little bit.
Okay, it's Weeping Willow 2, and it's spelt with an H. I had to misspell it because I couldn't get the name, but it's WHEEPING numerical number 2. But due to YouTube's incessant stalking me, they gave me a strike on 5 of my videos against Liberty Mutual, which is my abusers and have been for more than half of my life
Okay,
as a
so what do you mean
disabled
by
injured
Liberty?
worker.
What do you mean by Liberty Mutual? Who's Liberty?
Liberty Mutual is my workers' comp insurance company who has done everything it could put me 6 foot under, but I'm still here. But anyway, Liberty Mutual, YouTube had picked out, gone back months, 2-3 months, into my videos and pulled 5 of my videos against Liberty Mutual, telling of their abuses of me and that they are, in fact, trying to kill me off. And they ended up giving me a strike on the Weeping Willow 2 channel. So I had to create another channel, which has been on standby, which is Weeping and then space Willow 2, just like before, but YouTube saw fit to split it, and then it has a space, a number 4, and a capital U. Weeping Willow 2 for you, which is where I'm at now, but I am uploading all of my videos that I can on both channels because, I don't want, when 6 months is up on the strike, I don't want to lose Weeping Willow 2 because I own that name. It's connected to my Kentucky Injured Workers Advocate
Carol,
organization that I began.
Let me ask you this: on your Weeping Willow, on your YouTube channels, is everything coming up? Because I follow you on Weeping Willow 2 still, so evidently everything that you post still goes up there.
Yeah, I'm still posting on that channel.
This is why you've gotten into some trouble. You see, it's not just that they're giving you a hard time. It's because you've been an advocate for disabled people and for yourself. So tell me
I've done that.
Please explain a little bit about the venue of your channel. And this is what I was following your channel because I have an interest in this social engineering. And when I found your story, because go ahead, tell them what you do. This is really hilarious. Okay. Tell them what you do.
Well, I ended up seeing the need, having been into the Workers' Compensation Act of Kentucky, the Commonwealth, for the last 17, going on 18 years, studying the laws, applying the laws, winning in their monkey court, I call it, the Department of Worker Claims, because injured workers out here, they only get 66 2/3 of their income when they worked. Well, I'm still operating on 1985 income. I was fighting to change that with my legislation that I wrote in 2009 and went before the Interim Joint Committee on Labor and Industry in an attempt to sew up the loopholes after studying the laws for that long and stop these insurance companies' abuse of the injured workers. And, that's when I got my 8th death threat, the day that I left out to go the 4-hour drive back in 2009 up there to our capital to end up addressing the 38 board member Interim Joint Committee on Labor and Industry. And, I will not be deterred. I do not operate in the realm of fear. If people do that, they don't get anything done. You just dismiss that.
Okay,
but I've been doing this for almost 17 years, and what I have learned in the laws, I share my knowledge free to any injured worker that calls my Injured Workers Hotline, which is 270-922-0936. And it does not matter if you're in Kentucky or not. The information that I have learned and gleaned through the laws apply in all states. I don't know your particular state, and you can look up your own laws in your own state. Kentucky's is kentucky.gov, just ky.gov. And you can look up the workers' compensation laws through it the Kentucky Revised Statutes. It's what it is,
So, Carol,
KRSs.
let me interrupt here. Just 1 second. Let me interrupt here. I want to get back
Okay.
to, I mean, I appreciate that, but we have a less than an hour, so I really want to
Yes.
film this in.
Yes.
You
Okay.
advocate. I hear that you really understand all this stuff about the work rights for disabled people. But this is my question.
Right.
What were you, this is what I want you to explain, how you were using your YouTube channel, what you were doing. If someone goes to your YouTube channel, what are they going to see videos of if they go back, say, a year or 3 years? How long have you had your YouTube channel?
Since 2008. I began it for the Kentucky Injured Workers Advocate. I began my channel for that sole purpose, putting up what was the laws and what I've been through and how I've been fighting back and standing for injured workers.
And when did the issues with your house become apparent? When did you get the notices from the bank?
I believe that was in 2003. It might have been a little before that because I filed bankruptcy in Chapter 7 bankruptcy in federal court in 2003, which was adjudicated in 2006. And the judge, the federal judge, mind you, made the house exempt. He didn't just discharge the debt.
So then when
he discharged the house, you know.
Pardon me? When did it really come down that your loan, and they had just sort of created a loan and there was some false documents signed? When did you find all that out?
Under the law, you know, any contract, a viable legal contract, has to have all parties sign the contract. But aside of that, when I ended up filing bankruptcy, you know, and the debt was discharged as well as the house being made exempt, meaning that they cannot come after me for either. So in 2012, their case against me had been dismissed for lack of prosecution. They chose not to, and they had 2 notices of the court telling them, if you don't move on this case, we're going to dismiss it for lack of prosecution. Well, they never moved, and that's because they had no evidence against me. They do not have a contract. There is nothing tying my name to the J.P. Morgan Chase, who bought out the bad debt from the first supposed bank.
So Carol, hang on. Carol, let me back up here. Our radio listeners are not in tune onto the backstory here. Part of the reason I'm bringing Carol in is she has been fighting the banks to save her house in Kentucky. As you can hear her accent, she lives in Kentucky. She's a disabled woman who has been advocating for Wow. Hi, UCY radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark again. Wow. We were talking to Carol, and the phone disconnected. And the UCY radio Skype line disconnected. That was pretty weird. So then I tried to call back, and it would not do that again. So let me see if I can get her back on the phone so we can continue this conversation. As you can tell, you know, we're friends, so she actually has some history with me, so we understand the backstory. But Carol has basically been evicted, and her house, they are basically going to be selling her house on the 21st of
Hello?
this month. Hey, Carol, we are back on the radio, so let's
Okay.
let's do this so we don't have that happen. We don't kick off any more algorithms. Instead of
Yeah.
using the names of these companies, just use an initial or something like that, or call them those people, or you know what I mean? Because really, honestly, I have no idea why we got kicked off the radio, but I don't think it's that hard. As we know, they're kicking you out of your house, and you're pretty vocal.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
the thing.
they're going to auction the house off. So you don't want me to say the bank's name because I hadn't said it before now.
Well, not just the bank, but the insurance company, because I think that's the big offense. I think part of why they picked on you, Carol, is you've been so vocal. I mean,
Oh yeah, definitely. I've got videos up of my whole life.
yes, the insurance company has. Carol has been an advocate for the disabled people, and how I found her. I'm going to get right to it, Carol, because I'm waiting for you to tell people, and you haven't said it yet. But Carol tape records her contacts with the insurance companies and with elected officials, and puts them up on her YouTube channel.
Yes.
Channel.
I do that when I call the elected officials, whomever it is, because, they work for us. And, the Kentucky law.
That's what you think. You think they work for us. I used to think that too, and I am, we take a look at the world we live in. You think they work for us? They don't work for us. We're their slaves.
Oh, no. Well, they're supposed to. But there's things that people can do if they get off their blessed assurance.
I agree with you.
There's the 5 USC 7311 that if they usurp the Constitution this country was founded on, they can be ousted from their office. There's also the remedy of doing the recall. Now, not every state or Commonwealth has that,
Carol. Try to get that done. Try to get that done.
Pardon me?
Try to get that done.
How?
No.
Well, but you take the petition out into your neighborhood or your town, and you get as many daggone signatures as you can. Then you take it to your voting office, and they are mandated if your state has the recall, then they have to do a recall on that politician and to see whether or not the people want to vote for them again.
That's a true statement. We could do a bunch of recalls. That's actually a good idea.
That's right.
So, Carol,
but like I said, not every state has it.
Let's get back to your case because it's really fascinating. This is the interesting thing, and this is why I'm bringing you to the Age of Fission radio show, because I think you represent millions of Americans, and I believe that the reason they really specifically have harassed you and picked on you is because you have used a public venue to so-called air the dirty laundry of what happens to disabled people from the insurance organizations who really, the only reason that they like the people who are disabled is because they get a paycheck because of it. Not because they want to.
Yeah, but I earned that paycheck. I freaking worked,
I'm not talking about your paycheck. I'm talking about their paycheck, Carol. I'm talking about they give a crap about your life.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've got every politician in this state that I have called to help me on the House issue. I've called Jack Conway, who is the upcoming governor. He's running for governor. He can't even do his daggone job as an attorney general. But yet this a-hole wants to become a damn governor? Really? Well, hell, do your representing where you're at before you try to go to the next step. All these people do is like a chess game. They're moving from one position to the next. They don't give a crap about us.
No.
But I've called my Commonwealth attorney, Bruce Kegel, who is supposed to file criminal charges. Well, let me back up here. When their case, when the House case of JPM ended up getting dismissed for lack of prosecution, but they dismissed the case. Jay Wellington ended up dismissing her case without prejudice. This meant they could come back at me again. Well, they daggone sure did in 2013. So what they did to do so, however, because they did not prosecute the first time, they had to have new evidence. So the new evidence was a trumped up piece of paper by a notary at PNC to end up advocating for the benefit of JPM. So she ends up, and her name's Rebecca Feldhaus. She works for PNC, and she's ended up signing documents saying that she witnessed my signature, which is an absolute lie. For more than 10 years, I've been requesting through motion after motion before the court, show me due cause of action. Show me where they had a cause of action to come before the court to seek remedy, because they don't have a bona fide accusatory instrument or any piece of paper that shows a document of JPM and my name attached to it, or their name attached to the paper that was submitted to the circuit court. Okay?
Yes.
And the judge, because...
What are you going to, what are your plans? You know, your house is being auctioned. What's the amount of money that they're going to auction your house for on the 20th?
Well, they're trying to extract extortion money of $48,900 some odd dollars.
So for $48,000, wait a minute, they're trying to get, so this contract, which you never signed, was not, you never agreed to it, and they had somebody who worked for them. Just like in the stories that we read in the Wall Street Journal and in the Business Insider, there were these little clerks signing signatures and signing documents on shit they'd never seen, and their bosses told them to do it, so they just did it. And then the federal government said, well, we're not going to prosecute anybody because there's just too many of these signatures, so who cares? And they're upholding that signature to kick you out of your house.
Yeah, but that's robo-signing, what you're talking about, I believe.
No,
this is where an actual notary signed a document stating she witnessed the signature. Now, anybody, it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Let me bring you back to this, Carol. That is robo-signing. It's robo-signing isn't just sitting there in an office signing documents day after day after day. That's all you do.
Yeah, but you don't normally know who it is that's doing the robo-signing unless you do a heck of a lot of investigation. This is a notary that's right here in my town at a bank in my town that's signed for the benefit to help out JPM, okay? When her CEO, president, or not president, but CEO, which is William Demchek, ended up used to work for JPM in the mortgage department. So this is a one bank helping another bank with coercion and fraud, blatant fraud.
Well, that's called robo-signing. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but that happened to millions of Americans. That exact story has happened to millions of Americans. This is why we have empty houses across America. They fucking went after people. The banks it was a free-for-all. And the reason this was interesting, exactly. I asked you about 2012, Carol, because 2012 is, right when the economy was picking up and right after, we made it abundantly clear that we were going to do nothing to the banksters at all. The people in the banking industry get a free ride 100%. Right. And with your house, though, it's going to go up for auction on the 21st of September. Now, the interesting part about your story is this is not the first time. This is how many times have they sent you a notice that they were going to put your house up for auction?
3 previous times. This makes the 4th time.
In my view, that's done it. You see, this is what I'm saying. Like, you're fighting them. You're won, but this is actually the very last of the line here. You've done as much fighting as you can, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I got sent a video concerning the National Liberty Alliance, and I have made contact with them, and now they boast that they have put judges and attorneys and all these nefarious puppet characters into jail and prison.
Yeah, but that's not the same house. I mean, I get it. What you're saying is that the judge who did this against you and allowed them to come back over towards you, they have never once shown you a contract, correct? You have asked them to do
No, they have not. Not ever.
Yes.
Not ever.
Yes.
And, but
this is part of the new banking laws. But you know what? This is perfectly legal. It is part of the new banking laws where the bank who took over the loan, it's contingent upon the person who has the loan to show the documents. I've heard this story several times where the bank says, we have a lien against you and we're not releasing the lien until you show us that you paid for this automobile or you paid this loan off or whatever it is.
Well, they don't have a lien because their name isn't on my deed. You see,
and I know.
They don't have a lien. They don't have jack. But
it's the same.
If they bought out a bad debt, that's their fault, not mine.
Well, they're not. The thing is, they just made it up. Now, this is because the really weird part is, why would they pick on you in the middle of Kentucky in a little tiny town in the middle of a neighborhood? You're not like on some spacious thing. I believe that they really picked on you because you are an advocate for disabled people, which
Yeah, that, and I'm disabled, and I'm cut off from society pretty much, other than my computer.
Right.
I just at home. I'm homebound for the best part of it.
So this is the thing you're going to do different now. Let's say the worst case scenario. Now, before 3 other times, they canceled the sale of your house, correct? Is that what happened, like right before?
Yeah, they did. They canceled it, and I was filing papers, and they would stop. And, then I filed a tort against over 240 some odd people, to include the judges, 3 judges, 2 circuit court, 1
which they threw
district court, the Commonwealth attorney, all of them failing to do their jobs, and not upholding the constitutional oath by which they swore to uphold, because these are shysters. These are absolute shysters. And all they would do is hang up. And I've got all the proof on my YouTube channel from the calls that I made to these people's offices that are supposed to be representing us and not doing their daggone jobs.
Are the phone calls didn't you call the woman who signed her name to that document also on your YouTube channel?
Yes, I did. I called her up for one sole purpose, to ask her how much J.P. Imps paid her to screw me over. Pardon my terminology. But, I was pretty ticked off today. I called her. Well,
now, is that still on your channel, Carol?
Huh?
Is that still on your channel?
Certainly it is. Okay. Yes.
Well, I think because for me, this is the chronicling of your case on YouTube is really an interesting, as Kevin would say, it's an art form. I don't know if it's an art form, but it's actually a venue to document a human being's process through the collapse, an intentional collapse by the oligarchs. Now, I find it...
Well, her husband tried to pay me off. I've got that in audio, too, and she kept saying, well, that wasn't her signature, and she did not want to give me proof of her signature, so I ended up calling the notary public at our Capitol, and they offered it up, so they sent it to me via email, and I printed it out, and it matched identical to, that's where she did her sworn oath of office.
Do you have her on tape saying she denying she signed it? That's it.
Oh, yeah, I got her on tape saying she denied she signed it. Yes, I did.
This is the robo-signing. This is this is why I think it's important to talk about your case. I apologize for being sort of callous about the specifics of your case, but we have a few minutes left, but I think it's so important because what this really speaks to is just when a person speaks out, when they go against the grain, when you don't just sit down and shut up. If you had just sat down and shut up and done nothing about helping to improve the lives of disabled people, you may not have been on their target list. And
well, they have terrorized me, Lonnie.
I know they have.
Three vested up,
on your
bulletproof vested sheriff's deputies down here, banging on my front door, standing out in my front sidewalk, knocking on the door because they trumped up charges for phone harassment. They come down here. It took 3 big officers to come down here to harass me and terrorize me and scare the hell out of me and embarrass me in front of my neighbors, to come down here to deliver a summons for phone harassment, when the law that the county attorney ended up sending me in the mail saying that a phone harassment charge has been rendered against you.
Let us be clear. There's some background as to why they came in the vest. Explain to them what you have said you are going to do if the house gets sold. Carol does not play.
Well, I mean, if they illegally sell it and they come down here and think, by gosh, they're going to oust me from my home of 40 damn years, they got another thing coming. I don't contract with these people, you know. So if they batten down the door, then by gosh, you better have something besides a damn piece of paper, if you know what I mean. Because the line is drawn in the sand. Now, I have stuff stuck up my window. I have the law stuck on all three of my doors. And it's like, you know, it doesn't make a flipping difference to them because they're wearing a gun and they're wearing a badge. Well, by God, there are laws out there. And they have to abide by them, too. But our sheriff, Keith Kane, is not abiding by the laws. He's the last defense, supposed to be the last defense between the wrongdoers that are coming after me and trying to steal my house. Now, they went and interviewed this daggone notary, but they didn't arrest her, and she ended up fessing up to him that that it was her signature.
Well, Carol, you know...
So if she admits it, then they should have arrested her.
Carol, let me interrupt you here, please. I want to get back to this because, honestly, what I want to do in maybe a month from now, would you mind if I called you for 10 or 15 minutes and got like a quick update? Because, honestly, I'd really like to follow this story because I am concerned about your safety. I'm just going to tell you that straight up on the air. Honestly, if your house does get sold, there is no point in fighting them because they will just as soon, not even just shoot you dead, they'll injure you and you spend your fucking rest of the next 15 years in a fucking prison cell. And
No, I won't be spending no damn time in no prison cell. I have the right to protect myself and protect my property. Now, the judge that ended up doing his crooked little deed, which I've already proved him to be the asshole, pardon my French,
but
again.
Now, think about what you're saying about this guy. The judges, the people in your town, this is where Americans really need to think about these things. These are serious issues. They fucking came after you. They trumped up a bill that they knew you couldn't pay. I mean, frankly, $40,000 is a drop in the bucket. Somebody with money pays more than that.
Well, it's almost 50.
Huh?
48.9.
$50,000.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were expecting you to sign a contract to say, okay, I'll pay you $300 a month for the next 50 years. When they presented that bill to you, that's what they wanted. They wanted you to pay them another 30-year note for $250 to squeeze out even more money from you to keep you out of their lives.
Yeah, screw them. I'm not paying extortion money. It's not going to happen.
Now, do you...
And if they come down here, then my blood will be on their damn hands. That's where I am.
But this is the point here, Carol. You are not going to peacefully move. If let's say they sold your house for the $50,000, and you get this notice that says we've sold the house to blah blah blah. You have to be out of the house by September 1st, or they'll make Thanksgiving Day or some stupid bullshit. They might, you know what I mean? They're going to put the knife in as hard as they can. So, but the question is, when that day comes, will you be moving out?
Hell no, I won't be moving out. Hell no, I will not be moving out.
Because you're going to
They want this house. I swear his father is my shield and my buckler. This property has been anointed all the way around it, okay? And if they cross, may he help them, and I don't think he's going to, because these people are nefarious, evil doers.
Yes.
And if they dare come down and cross that line again, oh my gosh, I just, be careful is all I could say for them, because the Father's going to deal with them, you see, not me, but the Father is.
We have about 20 minutes left. Would you mind if I shifted gears from your house and talked about, because I think when people heard that you were an advocate for disabled people, I would like to share a little bit of how they withhold benefits and what happens with disabled people. And if you have resources again, we could go through that, because there may be people who do not understand their rights and do not understand some of the resources that are available to them. Could you go over?
Well, now, I don't advocate for just regular, normal disabled people. I am the Kentucky Injured Workers Advocate. I know the Workers' Compensation Act laws. I've implemented them. I've won. I've been in court for 7.5 years once, litigating for a lift chair that my insurance company, LM, refused to purchase. And then when I called them up and told them, hey, you got to get the chair, or if I fall, try to get up because of unstable legs, then guess who's going to get the ticket for the bill on that? So they bought the chair, but they fought me for 7.5 years to take this chair out of my home. Now, they have also, as of 2011, have been in contempt of court because they were court-ordered by the Department of Worker Claims to end up providing me a Tempur-Pedic bed. I've slept in this chair. Okay, this is the 4th chair I now have. They forced me to sleep in this chair for 12 years, Lonnie.
Wow.
12 years. I got 26-inch width. I cannot, with my entire bones all throughout my body are dead bone. I have osteonecrosis, which and osteopenia, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, all of which were due to my workers' comp injuries and or the treatment of 28 years of corticosteroid injections put into my body.
Carol, can I interrupt you a little bit here again? I want to ask you about the insurance company. Who pays the insurance company?
Well, my income, I did when I was working. My income paid for that workers' comp insurance, as it does for every worker that's out there.
So
that company pays it, but you pay it through your paycheck too.
Right, I get it. Exactly what you're saying. The workers' comp that you pay through your paycheck are the same people. So if you get injured, you're married to that company forever.
For life. That's right.
So
for life.
This is why. See,
let me explain something about this, because this is important. They have what's called a utilization review board. That these people out there are really ignorant about the laws.
No kidding.
When you get hurt and you hire an attorney, and that attorney gets your total disability and then cuts you loose because they'll stick by your side and walk with you the rest of your life. So it might take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. Oh, my gosh, you end up needing a wheelchair, or you need a walker, or you need a bedside commode, or you need a hospital bed. That daggone attorney's not going to be representing you because there's no money in it for him to come back into the case, you see.
Yeah.
So you're on your own. So that's where I come in. Because the Utilization Review Board, what so many people do not know, only has 30 days to yay or nay what your doctor ends up advocating for your needs. They have 30 days. If they don't argue that case or the issue of what your doctor's presenting to them for your medical care as related to your workers' comp injury, then they lose their ability to even litigate it. You win hands down, all right? That's Kentucky law. Now, I don't know all the other states' laws, but look in there on the utilization review, because I'm pretty daggone positive that's in every state in the union.
Wow.
Utilization review, which is where the insurance company can send your case to them to have them scrutinize whether or not you need it. Is that the standard? Is that the norm? And if they don't, then they've already forfeited their right to argue on the 30 days.
So
and I have a law case from the Supreme Court on that 30 days, time frame, that if they don't argue the case before the workers' comp board on whatever it is you need. See, I won a van. It was about $85,000 van to transport an over 410-pound wheelchair. Now, because I cussed out the Department of Worker Claims Commissioner, Dwight Levin, which is all up on YouTube, because they had been hee-hawing around and not doing what they're supposed to do and mandated under the Workers' Compensation Act. Well, guess what happened? They withdrew the wheelchair van transportation trapping me back up in my house.
Well, Carol, you know what that is? That is the long arm of intimidation telling you to shut the fuck up. Like, literally,
Yeah,
that
it
is them
is.
telling you to shut
Yeah, it's abuse.
Yes.
All the way around the table, it's abuse.
This is where we're at. This is really, like, I don't know how you feel about watching those refugees fleeing across Europe and just thinking about why they're fleeing because our tax dollars are being used. It reminded me of, this is how we are in the States. Like, if we think that we are many Americans really believe that they're inside the cocoon, that they are this.
That they're what?
Inside of a cocoon, where they're in.
Yeah, we're everybody, on the Native Americans and stuff, the whole daggone United States is a reservation now,
Well, pretty much, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, and we are seeing, I don't know how you feel, but you remember we were talking about the 6 million people, and the 6 million people that are living with uranium levels that are 89 times higher. Now, we know those things cause cancer, diabetes, all kinds of physical life ailments.
Yeah, and liver damage. I did that story, by the way. Thank you.
Well, I will tell you.
I haven't uploaded it yet, but I did cover it. That needs to be known. So you've got Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, probably Arkansas, Colorado, Texas, New Mexico. All those states are involved in that. South Dakota, probably Minnesota, North Dakota. It's horrendous. It's in California, and then parts of the eastern up, around New Hampshire and all those states up in there.
Yeah, New York and New Jersey, all of that. It all looked infected. And this is the thing. This is what we have to understand. The tritium, the Age of Fission radio show, we report on the nuclear news and social engineering. And this is why I asked you to be on, because I really believe they go hand in hand. We have 6 million people who are not up in arms. At the very least, people ought to get free health care. Or the insurance, or those companies that are making this sludge. Like, where is that stuff coming from? Uranium isn't on the ground level. You have to dig into the ground. You have to intentionally. It's one of the dirtiest, filthiest mining operations there is. And people get sick. It's the reason. In fact, this is what people have forgotten. In the late 50s, they held hearings at the Senate, at the government level about the uranium mining. They found that the people were getting sick and sick and sick, and then they came down to, wow, it's the uranium mining. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Uranium is really bad, so they created laws to create limits. They tried to we actually know there's no threshold of safe radiation, and when we hear these people telling us that, it's just like a banana, no, it is not. We have natural occurring radiation that our bodies manage every single day, but our bodies cannot manage man-made radiation that is toxic, like tritium. When pure uranium that emits massive amounts of radiation, our bodies cannot handle it. We cannot manage that, and that's what causes us to this is partly why, they're filling your body with cortisol shots. We have a whole entire culture of scientists and doctors who are quacks, who do not comprehend or even respect the basic laws of scientific evidence.
Right. And that Hippocratic oath that they took, cause thy patient no harm. Well, they've rewritten that daggone thing,
Yeah, many times. It's like that story I reported. I can't get this guy out of my head. Maybe you could investigate this as for your little radio station out there in Oklahoma, Enid, Oklahoma. I'll send you the nuclear alert. There was a janitor in Enid, Oklahoma, who was cleaning out a room, and a lead box fell open, and these vials fell to the ground. He picked them up with his hands and looked at it and said, hot uranium. And he was like, dropped him to his
Oh,
feet.
my gosh.
He called for help. They came and managed it and put it away safely. First off, that university was not licensed to have highly radioactive material. So,
yeah, I remember that story. Right. I don't know that I ran it, though.
Now, listen to what they have. We have a doctor, an MD in Enid, Oklahoma, who diagnosed that man with overexposure to mold and gave him a cortisone shot and sent him home. And The report
He
on...
needs to be lined up against the damn wall.
Well, is that a
You know.
doctor? Like, what kind of doctor would put his name? A guy gets exposed to highly radioactive material, shows immediate signs of radiation exposure, and the guy gets diagnosed with... Now, that guy should be debarred, just the basic common sense of it. But this is the culture...
Well, the guy ought to be suing the pants off the damn university for even having it there.
Look,
on the premises.
Bottom line,
and I am guessing that when you told me this story, I'm guessing because there was a university that ended up having a small version of CERN in their basement.
Oh,
and to do that, I think they have to have that stuff too. So I don't know, but I would guess that they...
Do you know where it was, Carol?
Where?
Do you know where that small CERN thing was?
No, they didn't want to, when they fired up this miniature CERN in the basement, the students weren't aware of it. They didn't let that information out, and they weren't going to name the university that was doing this because it was an experiment. Like the United States has pulled experiments on the people all the time without their knowledge.
Wow.
And so these kids at this university, I mean, if they let out the name, there'd be bukus of lawsuits. Yeah, they were seeing apparitions, papers flying up in the air.
See, this is my interest in this story. Here's a man who was exposed to radiation directly, and we have it. And I believe that the reason they had him sign, just like that lady who signed the contract and swore that she saw your signature, he had to sign because his boss told him to, because that university does not want to get sued by this girl. The first thing you said is, I'd sue them. Well, they don't want to be sued. They are not going to admit.
Well, first off, that's coercion, okay? And he signed under duress, which makes that null and void.
Carol, that is the world we live in, and so they covered their ass completely. That's why they did it. That's what makes the story so outrageous.
They did not cover their asses completely because that's a coercion and that's illegal, as well as him signing it under duress because they told him he had to sign it.
I swear to God, like seriously, are you? I thought I was the eternal optimist, but you are. A, this guy would never sue the university. The doctor was not going to sue them for coercion because he probably does it all the time. And B, if the guy who has this, this is one of the things I keep saying I'm going to do after the 15th of October. I'm going to do some research and find that man. Because that guy needs to be, we need to find out, like, how sick is he getting? He got a direct hit. And my guess is...
Well, he's going to die. That's the outcome of that.
Well, exactly. That's exactly.
So, and he's the one. You don't think he'll sue?
No, I don't think they'll sue, and I don't think they'll get anywhere, and I think we will never hear about it. It will not happen. He will go home, get sick in 2 to 3 months, and they will say, we had nothing to do with it. He had overexposure to mold. And his family...
Oh, my God.
And this... Honestly, inside the nuclear industry, when I say we have the 90% rule and it's an arm of social engineering, this is how it works. This is how the social engineering works to keep the oligarchs and the people who are the earth murderers, that's what I call them, they're the earth murderers, in power.
Yeah.
They have opted for ecocide. They have opted for ecocide. They have chosen to kill every fucking thing on this planet because they think that they can recreate it in their image. They are, like when I say they are worse than Caligula, they are worse than Caligula ever was. They make Caligula look like an infant. Think of the millions of people. Do you know that China just had its 4th explosion? 4th. We are at war with China.
Wait a minute. Who did?
China.
Oh, yeah. I haven't looked for that. I've been too busy. I heard they had a 4th, and I think it's all being done by satellite and Blue Beam Project, whatever that they're doing this with, because these aren't just, happening out of regular, normal occurrences of something, I just don't buy into that.
It's all pre-planned, and, we're their little guinea pigs. I personally refuse to, that their meme, what their way of thinking is not mine. I refuse to participate in that, and that's why I'm on this radio show. That's why I reached
Yeah.
out to you to tell your story, because I think, frankly, in my view, your story is a perfect example, and even your spirit, even your American spirit, like, God dang those people, and you know all the laws, you can cite all of it. It's no offense, I find it does bring me joy that you have this spirit in you that will not be stopped. However,
No, I won't. I
we are
never have.
watching,
I fought
we are
for a
watching
lot
the
of
next
years just to live my life, but I'm still trapped here in my house.
Well, you know what, Carol?
They've done this to me deliberately. That goes under the laws of USC Title 18, USC 241 and 242. When two or more people conspire together to prevent you from living your life. Okay, that's a Civil Rights Act. That's about 20 years in a federal penitentiary, which I tried to pull that when I filed a tort against the three judges, Jay Wellington and Joseph Caslin and Daniel Nick Burlew, and the Commonwealth attorney, Bruce Kegel, the county attorney, Claude Porter, the Jack Conway, who's the upcoming running candidate for governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, along with another, the county circuit court clerk, Susan Tierney, and her crooked son, Matthew Tierney, that's an attorney. This is a lot of people that are involved that's perpetrated these crimes against me.
Well,
and, there's no one in the state for me to call out to because every daggone one of them's a party to it.
Carol, let me just be clear. You're not the only one, and you know that you're not the only one, and this is the issue. They operate together. They're a finely tuned machine where they will, it's like, how quickly did the NRC get a doctor to say that this person had an overexposure to mold? Now that's a real physician, and they have the freaking nerve to put those words down. Somebody actually had to type those words into a computer to make it post up on the NRC alerts page that this man was diagnosed with overexposure to mold, and every single person typing there knew that it was a lie. All of them, all down the road.
Yeah.
And
then they'll pay for it when they meet their maker, is all I can say, These people think that they're not going to be held accountable. They are so wrong.
Well, I
so
hope
wrong.
You're right. You know what? I actually hope you're right. I don't know personally. I don't know about it. I mean, my opinion is I think that we are going to have a time when we're going to have major catastrophes that they have planned, and I really believe that we are going to see some a lot of death. We're already seeing a lot of death. Let's be clear, but we're going to see.
Well,
you think 6 million people drinking uranium for 30 years, we're going to have much of a population? One of the things that people talk about is that radiation exposure causes sterility. You may not. You can live your life with relative normalcy, quote normalcy. What do they call that? The normalcy mode. You can go about and pretend like, hey, nothing to see here. Move along. We're doing great. But your children will not have children. Or if they have children, their children will not have children. And this is what we're seeing in the bird population. If you look at the new studies that were posted on ENE News about the bird population, click on those links and you can see the scientific studies that are done. And actually, it's very fascinating. The bird population has dropped off the cliff. Yes, there's some birds, but not as many. I mean, what did we hear last year? There were 12 sparrows left in Fukushima. 12? And that, we're going on to our 5th year, which means if there was 12, we're probably not going to have any more in 2 years or 1 year. It's such an outrage, the ecocide and the genocide that is happening.
You've heard of the 60,000 Sega antelope that died in.
Yes, and I think that's from the fires in Belarus. If you look at Belarus,
no, it isn't. It's from a bacterial. thing.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what they say.
It's
Look,
because their immune systems
yes.
has been dropped due to the radioactivity, I think,
Yes.
you know, that caused them to drop their immune systems.
Yes, if you
And then it annihilated the whole daggone herd.
look at the
Kazakhstan.
look. If you look at Belarus, there has been a fire, and this is the weird thing. We're not really sure about. There's not a lot of reporting on it, but there was a fire there in Belarus, and east of that, right over the plains, is where those animals went. And I mean, they just got super exposed. And yes, it does create these bacteria, but it is. This is
there's also a nuclear power plant right there in the vicinity, which I just found out and did the report on that too. And they didn't say that in the first report. They were just saying that, you know, they had a bacteria, but that was a normal bacteria, and the scientists were all freaking out as to how come 60,000 of these antelope died in such a short period of time. And they didn't even go out and do autopsies on it, or necropsy, or whatever that's called. And, you know, then the report I did yesterday ended up bringing up the fact that there's a damn nuclear power plant right there and around them. So, you know, it's connected.
It's called the
nuclear power is sick.
This is what's called it's called the 90% rule. They deny that radiation causes any negative effect and underreport the negative effects of radiation by 90%. John Goffman studied the Japanese people for 20 years, and he came up with a conclusion that those were the statistics. The Atomic Energy Commission, the United States military, regularly underreport by 90% the negative effects of radiation. It was scientifically proven. And they unequivocally deny that radiation causes harm. And in fact, that was what year? That was 1963. And then now here we are, 2015, and we actually have our NRC with their fingers up their butts saying, well, maybe we'll accept the idea that hormesis, a little bit of radiation is really good for you, when they know, scientifically speaking, the people that are advocating for this, there's a scientist who's been drinking a little bit of uranium, and he's trying to prove that it's not so bad. He lies, and he has his work is not respected whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, you know, we are coming on to 8:57, folks, and we are just a few minutes left. Carol, is there anything you would like to impart to our listeners who have hung in there with this conversation? Must be quick.
You know,
Must be quick.
I just want, if people would please pray for me.
All right.
I am a very faith-filled person.
Well,
I don't claim any religion.
Reverse their decision and cancel the sale. And somebody is ringing my doorbell, but I'm going to ignore it. We have got...
Okay. Pray for me because, you know, and stand by me. Somebody go down there and holler at the Davis County, Owensboro, Kentucky courthouse when they end up trying to auction this place off and holler out dirty deed. You know, because they don't have the deed. That I do. And it doesn't have their daggone name on it. So holler it out, you know, disrupt the thing. I can't go because I don't have the use of my wheelchair. You know, or I'd be down there raising 7 kinds of hell. Okay. But I can't. So, you know, that's that.
Well, look, I really appreciate your time, Carol. Thank you for letting me examine you as a social engineering experiment, or as actually the victim of social engineering. I have to say, I feel very sorry for you that you have to go through this. And I keep, you know, I'm the eternal optimist. I'm expecting a miracle for them to drop it, or for somebody with $50,000 to just, you know, drop in and save your house for you, because there's people that could do it. So anyways, we have
people out there
seconds left. I really want to
will they, you know?
Anybody?
Well, I thank you, Lonnie, for putting me on the air and telling the story. You know, I appreciate it with all my heart.
We're out now. I'll talk to you guys later. And so, anyway.
Carol.